multiclassing something that's saying something about who I am as a character. Okay. Are they competing with too much space over what I do? In other words, I fight with a sword, so I'm going to take weapon focus with it, and now I'm a better swordsman. You know, I think about fun feats like Diabolic Transformation for the Tiefling. That's a fantastically well-designed, fun, awesome feat. But oftentimes it can be hard. You're looking at your build going, well, once a day I can be a neat demon, or I can just have plus one day. You know, and do the feat taxes, I really hate that word. I don't want to use it because it's an awful word. But does that concept perhaps stem out of the fact that so many things are competing for that scarcity of resources? How do you feel about
that? So the question is feats that are set up to really define your identity, like multiclassing, the weapon specialization feats and the heritage feats and things like that. How do we feel about those as compared to the theme concept we're coming forward with, and what feats are supposed to do? The short answer is, you know, sometimes we just come up with what we think is better tech a little bit further down the road. The theme idea was something we were casting around for desperately way back, even at the very conceptual stages of 4th edition. That we spent a lot of time kicking around the idea of what would be a good third pillar of character creation. It'd be great if we could think of what a good third pillar of character creation would be, so you could actually have like a race class and something else. So we talked about really playing up alignment. We talked about different sorts of faction systems, where you could say, you know, these are things you champion. This would be, you know, you could be a dwarf fighter of chaos, an elf cleric of light. You know, we played around with all sorts of ideas on there. We never got to something we were happy with, and about a year and a half or so ago, when we were really kind of getting the dark zone, we hit upon this idea of themes, and we just kind of gave ourselves a collective, you know, why didn't we think of this? You know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we were going, you know, thinking like crazy for what's the right way to kind of round out your character identity. In this case, I think themes present a better picture of the technology for things like the Dampier heritage, right? That we kind of wish now that we hadn't gone so far down that road of, you know, here's a feat, you can only spend one of these sorts of feats ever. When you make a choice, it really defines something about your character. It's like, you know, that's the sort of thing that actually the theme technology does so much better for us. So going ahead, we're going to probably try to leave some of that, here's a feat you can only ever have one of, choose carefully. We're going to probably try to put that behind us and say, now the theme is doing that sort of job. That's the heavy lifting that the theme does. And let's let feats kind of fall back to being more what we think feats should be, modifications of your abilities, things that you specialize in, not things that set a huge part of your character identity the same way that like the Dampier heritage and similar things would.
And to add on to that, we also recognize internally that there are too many feats right now available. There's
I'd say especially in heroic is where a lot of that competition is really
and so one of the things that Essentials will prove to show is that we're not giving quite as many feats out. We're still going to provide feats, but as far as the number we create and we put into the system, we just need to throttle it back a little bit. When going through a lot of recent DDI articles, I've been trying to excise feat sections, especially if they don't feel like they're really expanding the design space. So that's something we're keeping our eye on.
It's about 10 out. So.
Oh, yeah, let's do 2 more questions and then we'll call it, although we're going to be around all week. So, you know, if you ever want to talk to any of us, come up to us here after the show, whenever, or after the seminar, and we can answer questions. So right here.
So is Essentials really, it's not 4.5, you know, is it?
No. It is Dungeons and Dragons. It's all part of Dungeons and Dragons for us, right? Is there more to that, or is
saying that over and over and over?
we can't use numbers around Bill anymore? Was there one in the back there? Yeah.
I was just wondering, with Essentials, are we going to be returning to seeing new versions of those iconic monsters like, you know, goblins and orcs and
Yes, to both. I mean, the Monster Vault stuff. It's stuff we want. It's essentials, right? This is what we want the core iconic D&D experience to be. So we want the people that are picking up the Monster Vault and people that are running games and starting with this game to really feel that classic high fantasy feel of I'm fighting orcs and goblins and kobolds and dragons and ogres and trolls and those are going to be represented.
But they're new versions that you can use with
Right.
your old ones.
Yeah, so and there we might have picked up the Goblin Minion, for example, but we might not have picked up the Black Blade. I don't know. But yeah, there will be those in the Essentials product, in the Monster Vault product. Okay, fine. One more.
Just one quickly. What's the timeline after the editors get done with the book before it's in the book stores?
Um,
Editors are done.
Yeah. So the editors have.
we have,
somewhere ready
yeah,
to
the editors do their thing for 6 to 8 weeks. Managing editing is our Kim Mohan does another significant pass on the book and tries to get it to fit and make sure we have the right words on the right pages. We still have after that typesetting where we get and review there where we start seeing a PDF of the file and
About 3 months after Kim is done.
yeah, so it's still a ways out, but yeah.
About 3 months after the managing editing stage. Depending on the product. If it's a box set that we do through China, it takes longer,
Yeah,
just because
the printing and shipping is longer.
the boat's slower.
All right, I think that's enough for now. But like I said, we're going to be around all week. Come to the seminar on Saturday where we're going to talk about the upcoming releases for next year and what else other cool stuff we've got planned for D&D.
And there's a whole slate of seminars tomorrow.
And
Forgotten
yes,
Realms.
there's a whole bunch of seminars all weekend long. So,
Yeah, announce
all right,
tomorrow's.
yeah, tomorrow's seminars include.
All right. Tomorrow's seminars include an Adventure Builders Workshop, a seminar on the D&D Encounters program, Spinning Yarn with Ed Greenwood. That is probably going to be NC-17. If my previous experience of that is any judge, and then World of the Forgotten Realms.
10, noon, 2, and 4.
Yep.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks.